Welcome to The Last Word, my weekly commentary on life and work in San Antonio and Texas. I moved to Brownsville as a young man in 1975, where new friends introduced me to saltwater fishing in the surf at Boca Chica Beach, where the Rio Grande empties into you guessed it, the Gulf of Mexico. People from Matamoros were fishing across the river and easily spotted. In fact, at low tide, we could converse with other familiar regulars. Some waded and swam across. We were like neighbors communing over the fence. No one called the body of water the Gulf of Mexico or the river dividing Brownsville and Matamoros the Rio Grande. We called it the Gulf, or El Golfo in Spanish. We both called the river, or El Rio. Both referred to the other side as El Otro Lado. No one said it in English. In those pre-cartel days, crossing cost a quarter, 25 cents, and we never gave our security a second thought. I learned as much Spanish in Matamoros restaurants and clubs as I did from the Spanish Made Easy textbook I bought for self-learning. People crossed the two bridges to work, to take their children to school, to visit extended family, and above all, to shop. Americans and Mexicans alike were attracted to options al otro lado. We were neighbors. Now President Donald Trump is demanding a change in name, turning the Gulf of Mexico, so named for centuries, to the Gulf of America. We own it, he said in his inaugural remarks. No, we do not own it. That was one of the many falsehoods the returning president peddled on Inauguration Day. Those who live and work along the Gulf Coast are likely to stick to what has always worked, the Gulf, El Golfo. I can't imagine how expensive it is going to be if Trump succeeds in forcing a name change that, even if enacted, is likely to never take root and likely to last only 4 years. A proposed name change might not mean much to some. It means a lot to me. It's part of a much larger campaign to vilify Mexico and Mexicans and end our neighborly relations. The majority of this country's Latinos or Hispanics are of Mexican descent. Mexico is now the largest trading partner of the United States, and our need to reduce our economic and manufacturing dependence on China means trade with Mexico will only continue to grow. You're hearing it all the time, nearshoring. Unless we screw it up, tariffs deployed as a political tool to force Mexico to bow to the United States on all immigration issues will screw things up, and we will feel it in San Antonio. We are as mutually dependent on one another as neighbors are everywhere. Even now, living a 3-hour drive north of the border, part of me will always be rooted there. Mexicans will always be my neighbors, and I'll always call it the Gulf, or si voy al otro lado, el Golfo. That's my last word for this week. Please connect with us every Friday for the weekly conversations on Big City, Small Town, and listen or watch The Last Word on Saturdays. And for those who read my weekly column for so many years, I now publish a weekly newsletter on Mondays. Of course, for people who did not read my columns at the Express News or the Rivard Report, we want you to sign up too. Just go to bigcitysmalltown.com and share your email address. Or, even easier, email me directly and I'll register you. robertjrivard@gmail.com. Big City, Small Town is brought to you by Western Urban, building the city our children want to call home, and Geekdom, where startups are born and smart ideas become businesses. Our producer is Corey Ames, with in-studio sound production by Maura Bobbitt, video and social media by Erica Rempel, and sound engineering and editing by Alfie De La Garza of Sound Crane Audio. We will see you next week.